Assalamu alaikum and welcome to another episode of With the Prophet. I'm Ali Coleman. I'm here with the Sheikh Alhakeem of Saudi Arabia. Assalamu alaikum and welcome.
Alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Thank you for being with us, Sheikh. We will continue our discussion on the subject of women as promised. We are looking in this show at the Sunnah of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and how he interacted with various members of society around him. Part 2 of women, I'd like to ask you about this story about a non-believing woman who and something about her water.
Okay.
What's that all about?
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wa sallallahu wa sallam wa baraka ala abdihi wa rasulihi nabiyyina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Women did not have a lot of rights before Islam. So it was normal for them to be abducted, to be sold as slaves, to take their wealth, and no one would stand up for them. The Prophet ﷺ came to change all of that, even with non-Muslims. So this is a great lesson for us to compare the way we treat women in the first place and the way we treat non-Muslims as well. The story goes, the authentic hadith, that the Prophet ﷺ was with his companions, 40 of them, in an expedition.
Okay.
And they ran out of water. So they looked around and could not find water until they saw a woman, and she was an idol worshipper, on her camel with 2 large water containers at the side of the camel. So they stopped her, they brought her to the Prophet ﷺ. And the Prophet ﷺ made his usual thing. And that is, the Prophet ﷺ took some water, put it in his mouth, turned the water in his mouth and spit it back into the water. After that, the 40 men all drank and filled their containers from those. And one of the companions who needed the major ritual washing or ghusl did that. And the Prophet ﷺ ordered his companions to collect whatever little things they had from dates, from bread, from ghee, and they collected it in return for what they had used. The Prophet ﷺ told her, listen, this is for you, and we did not take a single drop of your water. It's still as it is, but this is water that Allah has given us and blessed us with. So the woman went back to her tribe. Later on, the companions used to go and fight with the tribes around her, sparing her tribe. So
An idol worshipping tribe.
They're all idol worshippers.
But she was spared.
She and her tribe were spared. So after a while, she said to her people, listen, I see that Muhammad and his companions are sparing us because of that day where I provided them with drinking water. I believe that they're doing this deliberately, so I think it's best for us to accept Islam. So as a form of gratitude, the Prophet ﷺ ordered them not to attack this woman's tribe. Look what the favor she did to the Muslims, and she's a woman, she's an idol worshipper, which the Prophet did not forget, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and they all came and accepted Islam.
I'd like to thank you for that, for opening up that story. The non-believing, idol-worshipping woman, her tribe, and her water. I'd like to ask you about, this subject of the number of wives permitted to a Muslim man. I think it's very easy for us to look, to miss how revolutionary it was to place a restriction on the number of women that could be married. in the context of our discussion on women and the way that we are led to be with women, to how to respect them, can you elaborate for us about this revolutionary idea at a time when, as you said, women were property, were commodities, were treated with little or no regard, not only in Africa and Asia and in Europe. Really, it was a global phenomenon. So in the midst of this, prior to human rights and Geneva Conventions and all these kinds of things, the Prophet in Islam was placing a limit, and only to the extent that you could carry out your obligations to them. Help us, I mean, maybe I've made the point.
Okay. The Prophet ﷺ saw a man by the name of Ghilan. And this man had 10 wives with him. So he ordered him to keep 4 and to let go of 6. This is mentioned in chapter 4, Surah An-Nisa, where Allah Azza wa Jal tells us in the very beginning that it is permissible for you as men to marry women in 2s, 3s, or 4s, providing that you are fair with them. And if not, then you must restrict that to 1. So in Islam, Islam came to solve problems and not to cause them. If you look around you and forget all the statistics that they provide you with, you will find that the amount of women far exceeds the amount of men.
Yeah.
This is due to fatalities, road accidents, wars, illnesses, heart problems, high cholesterol levels, blood pressure that are prevalent in men more than women.
In addition to just being silly and reckless.
Yes, but women far exceed in number. So what is the solution? You can't ask a woman not to be natural in seeking a spouse. A woman who's not married, if there is not a lot of belief and iman in her heart, she'll tend to wear her makeup, put her perfumes, and go. This is how women are. Even men. When they go to the workplace, they put the best perfume, they wear nice clothes, trying to look sharp, maybe just to impress, with intention or without intention, unintentionally. It depends on the person's iman. Therefore, Islam came to give a solution. And that is, if a man has the ability to marry more than one financially and to be fair and to treat them well, then this is permissible. Women, on the other hand, cannot marry more than 2. They're made only to love one. Like the old song, torn between 2 lovers, feeling like a fool, loving both of you is breaking all the rules. It's the same concept worldwide. Now, you may have black sheep of the family. You may have one single woman in a million that is able to have more relationships, but this is not the norm. Women get depressed, get emotional. They can only love one man, while a man can love more than one woman. So it is to solve a problem, providing that the conditions are fulfilled. You must be fair, otherwise you'll come on the day of judgment with your side tilted. This is a threat, a warning. The Prophet says, whoever has 2 wives and he's not fair with both of them in terms of how many nights he provides for each, in terms of financial support, in terms of being fair in gifts. Whoever has 2 wives and is not fair with both, he will come on the day of judgment with his side tilted. So this shows you that it is a serious issue.
It's a serious issue. We're almost ready for our break, about 2 minutes to the break. The next thing I'd like to ask you is about, you just mentioned giving gifts to both women. What about prior to marriage? The non-married man accepting gifts from women. We have the example, of course, of the Prophet himself, peace be upon him. He was in a position to receive gifts from many people, men and women alike. The slave you told us in an earlier episode, not slave, but servant, Anas ibn Malik, was a gift from a woman. Is that right? So the subject is, when we come back, please hold your answer. We're going to take the break and we'll get your answer on accepting gifts from women, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum and welcome back to With the Prophet. We'll please continue our conversation about women. Sheikh, before the break, I asked you a question about accepting gifts from women.
Correct. As a correction, Sulaim, the mother of Anas, did not give him to the Prophet ﷺ. Literally, he was a servant. She gave him his services.
Okay.
So that he would work for the Prophet ﷺ without a pay. Now, generally speaking, it is not correct for a woman to give a man a gift who's not related to her, or a man to give a woman a gift without any relationship, as this would be dubious. What is the purpose of this? Is this like predating? You want to go for a date, or you want to just have good relationship? This is a no-go. But it's okay if I, for example, go to my brother and say, listen, I bought your wife this a bottle of cologne. This is okay. My brother won't feel bad about it because I'm giving it to my brother to give it to his wife.
Okay.
So if my sister-in-law tells my wife, listen, I saw these pair of glasses and I think they would look good on your husband, she would accept that and she would give it to me, and I would be grateful to my sister-in-law, but there's no communication between us.
I see. Yes.
It's not straightforward.
And using your example, I may never even smell the cologne on her. The point is that it's a gift to my brother.
Yes. So through this, yes, and always bear in mind that the figure of the Prophet ﷺ was not like any other figure. Sulaim, for example, who the Prophet ﷺ used to visit a lot in her home, till the companion said, Prophet of Allah, why are you visiting this woman? The Prophet had mercy towards her, and he said, her brother died with me in battle, and I feel sorry for her. And Al-Hafidh ibn Hajar, may Allah have mercy on his soul, he related her to the Prophet ﷺ to be one of his mahram through suckling, because the Prophet's mother and the upbringing of the Prophet's father in Medina way before the Prophet was born. So he related it, and he said that Sulaim was the Prophet's mahram, and this is why it wasn't something special for him. Sulaim told her son Anas once that, let me cook something for the Prophet ﷺ, and she cooked to the Prophet ﷺ some ghee with dates and made a meal and sent it to him. Sahal ibn Sa'd al-Sa'idi tells us that a woman came to the Prophet ﷺ, seeing how sort of poor he was. So she made him a garment, nicely tailored, and she said, I made you this outer garment so that you can wear. And the Prophet thanked her and wore it. One of the companions said, Prophet of Allah, this is a beautiful garment. Give it to me. And the Prophet said, yes. And he went inside, took it off, and gave it to the man. The man's companions blamed him. Don't you have any shame? Don't you fear Allah? You know that the Prophet needed it most. And you know that he would never return anyone asking him for a gift. Yet you still ask him for it? He said, I know by Allah he does not return anyone who asks him, but I'm going for battle, and I believe that I would like to be shrouded in it. So the Prophet ﷺ gave it to him. In a third incident, a woman came to the Prophet ﷺ and she offered him to build a pulpit. She said, I have a slave who is a carpenter. And we know that before, the Prophet used to ﷺ sit on a bank of a tree. Is it called a bank? A trunk of, well, they're all the same. A trunk of a tree that was cut, and he used to give his khutbah from. So she made that to him and gave it as a gift. So yes, accepting gifts like this, no strings attached, is totally permissible, and the Prophet used to honor women ﷺ by accepting their gifts.
In the first episode on women, we talked about important differences between men and women. And throughout, you've been mentioning the emotional difference, the emotional nature of a woman versus that of a man. How does this feature when it comes to correcting mistakes? When the Prophet saw women, I mean, surely women made mistakes around him, peace be upon him. Was he different in his manner towards correcting their mistakes? Did he encourage them in a different way towards righteousness?
See, correcting people's mistakes needs knowledge, requires knowledge and wisdom. It is almost impossible to shove information down people's throat and accept them to be happy with it. And when people make they make mistakes by default, they're defensive. So it is not a debate, it is not an argument. You just say what's wrong and move on. Some people want to shove it down our throats. No, you have to change, and now. The Prophet wasn't like this. For example, when his cousin Ja'far ibn Abi Talib, may Allah be pleased with him, the brother of Ali ibn Abi Talib, when he was martyred in the Battle of Mu'tah on the 8th year of Hijrah, his wife and sisters and the family were crying, were weeping. Natural thing. A man came to the Prophet in his house, as Mother Aisha narrates, and the Prophet was sad for what he had to endure. His cousin, Ja'far, his previously son-in-law, Zayd ibn Haritha, the love of his life, who was his son, used to be known as Zayd ibn Muhammad before adoption was banned, and Abdullah ibn Rawaha, three of the great Muslim companions martyred in the same day. So he was sad. A man came, said, "O Prophet of Allah, the women folk of Ja'far are weeping, and we can hear their voices." The Prophet said, "Go and forbid them." So the man went and came back. He said, "I did forbid them, but they continued." The Prophet said, "Go and forbid them." In the third time, the Prophet said, "Go forbid them, and if they don't stop, take sand and put it down their throats." He was frustrated of this man. Aisha could not tolerate this, may Allah be pleased with him. And he said, "May Allah Azza wa Jal put your nose in the sand." You neither left the Prophet ﷺ to be sad on his own and respected his feelings, nor you forbade them from weeping and stopped. You keep on insisting and insisting and insisting. So the Prophet ﷺ gave them the benefit of the doubt. He knew their nature, and he just said, "Forbid them," and that's it. Likewise, in another story, and this is authentic hadith, the Prophet ﷺ was walking with his companions, and he saw a woman sitting next to a grave of a son who died.
Okay.
And she was weeping and wailing. So the Prophet ﷺ told her, "O woman, slave or servant of Allah, fear Allah Azza wa Jal and be patient." That's it. There's nothing wrong in that, because wailing is haram in Islam. It's a major sin. Weeping is not. So the woman in anger said, "Leave me alone. You have not been afflicted with the calamity that I have been." So the Prophet left. He didn't insist. The companions came to her and said, "Are you crazy? This was the Prophet of Allah." She didn't recognize him because she was...
she was so outdone and distraught.
So she ran, tried to follow the Prophet ﷺ, and she found him in the place where he sits in the masjid. And she came, "O Prophet of Allah, O Prophet of Allah, now I'm patient, now I'm patient." So the Prophet ﷺ said to her, patience, it is at the first instance of a calamity, not after you tend to relax and forget about it. So again, the Prophet did not force her to stop or to do this because he understood the way she felt.
Yeah, that's something that really stands out there. One of us, or one of our sheikhs or imams may have responded differently, unfortunately. And I think, well, just a follow-up question, is this the reason why? I don't know if it's something that all the Arabs and Muslims do, but the burials that I've attended here in Egypt were attended only by men for the actual burial. And then the day or the next day, subsequent days, the women would come with the kids. Is that a common practice?
It's an issue of dispute among scholars, whether it is permissible for women to visit the cemeteries or not. The most authentic opinion, which I follow, Sheikh bin Baz, bin Uthaymeen, and the whole 9 yards of the Saudi scholars, that it is prohibited because the Prophet ﷺ prohibited women and cursed women who frequently visit the graveyards. So this is something that is only for men, but it's an issue of dispute. It goes without saying that women are emotional. So if they were to visit a grave of a loved one, they would do things that may not be acceptable. Even we see this in some of the soap operas and movies when you have a portrait of a deceased husband or a father and you get people talking to him. Oh, my love, if you've seen what they've done to me, and he's dead. So they tend to get emotional, but again, we don't have a justification. We know that visiting graveyards for women is prohibited and not permissible in Islam.
At least their emotions, we can agree, are more expressive, more. We have been disciplined, socialized we're emotional, men are, but we don't show it in the same way.
Correct.
I've seen the brothers weeping there, and so we'll have to leave our discussion there. I hope in these 2 episodes on women that it was satisfactory to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. May accept our efforts, and thank you, Sheikh.
Barakallahu feekum, jazakumullahu khairan.
That concludes our discussion on women. We look forward to continuing with the Prophet, inshallah. Until our next episode, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.